Today we will discuss the role of a TVI, or Teacher of the Visually Impaired, specifically the expanded core curriculum as it relates to students who are visually impaired. A TVI is typically a licensed special education teacher who has received certification and specialized training in meeting the educational needs of students who are blind or have visual impairments, age birth to 21. This is an instructional position as opposed to a related service or vision therapy. The role of the teacher of students with visual impairments is to provide direct special education services specific to vision loss. The TVI will determine which areas of the Expanded Core Curriculum, or ECC, need to be addressed to meet the needs of a student who is blind or visually impaired. These areas are typically not addressed within the standard curriculum. A needs assessment can be updated throughout the year. The term Expanded Core Curriculum is used to define concepts and skills that often require specialized instruction for students who are blind or visually impaired in order to compensate for decreased opportunities to learn incidentally by observing others. Utilizing a checklist that can be updated throughout the school year will assist team members in various decision-making processes. An evaluation of the ECC areas include needs that result from the visual impairment that enable the student to be involved in and make progress in the general ed curriculum, and other educational needs that result from the child's disability as required by IDEA. Evaluation in all areas of the ECC is required for students with visual impairments, even though they may not have needs in all areas. This evaluation is required at a minimum of every 3 years. Priority needs must be identified annually at a minimum by the IEP team and instruction provided in these areas. Individualized instruction in compensatory skills will help the student who is visually impaired access all areas of the general curriculum, learn about the world, communicate, and develop literacy. Teach concept development using concrete and unifying experiences, meaningful experiences and interaction with real objects that they can touch, hear, smell, and see. Time management also falls within concept development, and also spatial understanding of before, now, after, etc. Spatial understanding beginning with left, right, up, down, and with the end result being able to safely navigate their environment within the community. Speaking and listening skills to communicate effectively with their families and with their future workplace also fall within compensatory skills. Modes of communication also fall under compensatory skills and incorporate skills needed by students who are blind or visually impaired. Some students will need instruction in the Braille code in order to access print, as well as handwriting and signature instruction. Additionally, students may require large print, use of optical devices, UEB math or Nemeth code, instruction in interpreting tactile graphics, recorded materials, picture symbols, and more to support access to communication. Sensory efficiency includes instruction in the use of vision, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. It also addresses the development of the proprioceptive, kinesthetic, and vestibular systems. Learning to use their senses efficiently, including the use of optical devices, will enable students with visual impairments to access and participate in activities in school, home, and community environments. Areas the student may need instruction in or consultation in include maximizing their use of vision, developing gross and/or fine motor skills, developing strength and stamina and endurance in legs, arms, and hands, identifying textures tactually and underfoot, and identifying kinesthetic and proprioceptive sources and identifying olfactory sources. Orientation and mobility specialists may sometimes be called O&M or COMS, will work directly with the individual to provide alternatives to using sight for safe and independent travel purposes. It is critical for individuals with visual impairments to learn to move safely, efficiently, and as independently as possible through all environments. Social interactions can often be difficult for a person with a visual impairment to navigate. Having reduced vision can make it more difficult for students to acquire accurate information about their social environment or the context of activities. Not being able to observe the physical gestures or facial expressions makes it difficult to understand the social nuances. Students must learn appropriate social skills in order to prepare them for success in their homes, their friendships, as well as their job and career readiness. Nonverbal behaviors provide us with a lot of information about conversations and interactions. Students who are blind will not be able to perceive nonverbal communication, and students with low vision may not be able to perceive subtle nonverbal communication. Social interaction skills must be taught to students with visual impairments because they are unable to casually observe how people interact and socialize with one another. A person's self-concept is based on their sense of identity and rooted in their sense of self-worth. Families and teams need to encourage the students to develop a good self-concept as a person with a visual impairment. Independent living skills are the activities people perform according to their abilities, which enable them to manage their homes and personal lives. These skills could include meal preparation, eating adaptations, clothing management, hygiene and grooming, money, and housekeeping. The development of independent living skills is important to all students, and particularly with students who are blind and visually impaired. Recreation and leisure skills may include traditional as well as adapted physical education activities. However, as with social interaction skills, visually impaired students need help identifying the array of choices available to them in this area and must be taught how to perform leisure skills that most students learn through observation. It is said that technology can level the playing field, so to speak, for persons with visual impairments and can be a great equalizer. Instruction in the use and maintenance of assistive technology is needed in the curriculum for students with visual impairments. Assistive technology enables students who are blind and visually impaired to access and store information from libraries around the world and the internet. In addition, students with visual impairments can use assistive technology for note-taking, accessing digital platforms, screen readers, studying for tests, research, audiobooks, keyboarding or typing skills, and a variety of other academic uses. Career education for students with visual impairments needs to begin as early as possible. Students need to know where to look for a job, volunteer work, explain parents' jobs, talk to a variety of adults about their specific jobs, and accompany adults during their workday. Career Connect is an employment information resource developed by the American Foundation for the Blind for job seekers who are blind or visually impaired. It provides employment information, career exploration tools, and extensive job-seeking guidance for students and adults with vision loss and the professionals who work with them. Students need to understand their visual impairment in order to effectively communicate and advocate for their needs using self-determination. It is equally important for students to learn how to problem solve in order to make the necessary adaptations to be successful. You can help the student develop a knowledge of their visual impairment and any other disability as well as the unique needs it results in. As part of learning about their disability, the student should be instructed on how to answer questions about being visually impaired in a polite manner. Communicate their visual diagnosis in easy-to-understand terms. Explain the purpose of related services that they are receiving. Name and describe their visual impairment. Explain personal visual restrictions and side effects. Communicate limitations in specific sports. As part of learning about their visual impairment, it may be appropriate to help the student learn the different parts of the eye. The student can do this by examining their own eyes in a mirror and examining the color, shape, and differences in the eye. Depending on the student's developmental level and cognitive level, it may be appropriate to encourage the student to explore a pull-apart model to help them understand the different parts of the eye and discuss the various functions. These skills are often combined in what we call a vision portfolio. Students are then able to have their personal visual impairment resources as needed. The vision portfolio allows the students to begin the process of learning how to advocate for themselves in multiple formats.